Welcome back to Travel Again Insights, a weekly look at what matters most to our amazing industry. Good to see you, Ed. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Mike.
So, tough start to today, given that last night, I think we all saw the events that unfolded here in Washington, the acts of domestic terrorism at the Capitol. Everyone says that they're really struggling to deal with this, right? And what it all means, certainly for everyone here in the U.S., but around the world. So along those lines, I mean, certainly you have to take a moment to reflect and to have almost a moment of silence to, think about what that all means. I know we've been talking about it all last night, all morning. But I think my point to this, I think, is that when you have an act of terrorism, we've dealt with this before in different ways, foreign or domestic. What terrorism is about getting people to distract them and to take their eye off the ball of the things that are important. And we have this very important, monumental task of rebuilding. And I think, in the spirit of that, we need to forge ahead with a passion that and energy unlike anything we've ever had. I think it's so important. And so, in spirit of that, I think we should carry on and do our weekly updates and insights, and certainly, I know we're both, as ever, committed to moving the initiatives and Travel Again ahead. So let's do
Thanks,
it.
Mike. Yep, couldn't agree more. So onward we go. So our first article is one of actually many that came out over the 2-week period. This one's called 9 Ways the Pandemic Will Change Travel in 2021. There were a number of articles on this topic. So Mike, if you just walk us through a little summary of multiple of them. This one's from the New York Times, but there are many good ones. Tell us a little bit about what they all say.
Yeah, so I think what we're finding with this is that the things we've been saying is that a vaccine, although needed, welcome, wanted, critical to the recovery effort, is not really going to do much for the travel recovery part for some time. And we need to be prepared and really approach this almost as if the vaccine isn't going to be there. And what we mean by that is, the testing protocol, the digital health passports, all the things that are recommendations, we need to forge ahead and put in place. We need to have a standardized way that we're approaching all the things we're doing, because again, it's important, and it's important for the future efforts, future planning, being ever so diligent and vigilant for whatever crises we might approach or have to deal with in the future. So I think the things we're talking about, again, vaccine is great. We're going to monitor it. We clearly want to see frontline workers in all capacities, including the ones in our travel industry, like flight attendants, frontline workers, hopefully getting the vaccine as quickly as possible. But again, I think we need to be prepared that in a broad sense, not everyone's going to want to get the vaccine. We know that. And then even so, it still is not known whether that's going to be, keep people from being carriers to people who have not been vaccinated, right? So all the more reason, again, stay the course, certainly for us and for our industry.
Okay, I couldn't agree more. Obviously, our global framework launched just before, the holiday period. So if people want to go look at that, all of our recommendations about the future of travel are embedded in that. So please do go take a look. Our next article is about countries banning travel from the UK in the race to block this new COVID-19 strain. And this happened during the holiday period, but it's really important to talk about what it means for travel and how the world reacted to it.
Yeah, so this is, again, we're really in a tough situation because, every time, here's a great example. We're still in the midst of, obviously, this crisis, and we still have variants happening, changes happening. This isn't a static environment with the virus itself. So, here's another situation where, again, countries start closing borders. The quarantining, goes back into effect or, gets increased. And that's just creating effectively creating a prohibition on travel. And that is just devastating. If we put our contention is if we put our recommendations into place, have the consistency, have this massive testing effort, really be, have people using digital health passports to show they've been tested. We could create an environment where we wouldn't have to keep opening and closing and having more quarantining and being in a place where we can't allow people responsibly to travel when needed. And certainly when we talk about restarting business commerce, putting people back together again to do business together, as we know we need to do. This is, vitally important.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I mean, I know, in some locations, they've begun to implement testing as a response to the new variant. In New York, not far from me, in Massachusetts, I know Governor Cuomo has been pressing the airlines to implement testing as a way to control the spread of that variant. So good on him, and we hope others start to look at testing as an answer.
Yeah, and it's really important too when political leaders come forward and really take those kinds of positions, because it needs the attention, it puts focus in the right place, and it shows some leadership in an area where it's desperately needed. So hats off to him. And again, we need, obviously that's just a little tip in the ice of the effort we need here. But I think again, welcomed for sure.
Okay. So the next article is called "Sneezed On, Cussed At, Ignored. Airline Workers Battle Mask Resistance with Scant Government Backup" from the Washington Post. And we felt this was an important one because airline workers, everyone in the TSA, we've been talking about this quite a bit. These are frontline workers. So tell us a little bit about this article, Mike.
Yeah, so this is really important. I think this is an area where we really need help from government. You talk about where do you need help and where we can be working better together. I mean, really, our contention is that this is where we could benefit from some federal legislation about wearing masks on planes. So it takes it out of the hands of the frontline workers who are faced with kind of, we're trying to enforce this. It's a company policy. It's something no, this needs to be something that, no matter who you fly, no matter where you stay, no matter what you do, this is a requirement. And that's an area where, again, we could be working better together and help with the enforcement part. We need to keep our frontline workers healthy. We need to keep each other healthy. And this is, again, an area that I think we could all be working better together and fast track some ways that we can really help, really support the frontline folks that are out there trying to do their best to keep people, flying and traveling as they can and as needed in this environment. So.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't agree more. We've talked about hoping that these frontline workers are moved up in the vaccine list because that's important, but also any help we can get from the government on helping to protect them from what's going on would be really helpful. Yep. Those are the three articles this week. Mike, anything else to add before we say goodbye?
No, that's it. And we're looking forward to a big year in rebuilding our industry. And Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome back. Let's get to it. We got a lot to do.
All right. We'll see you next week. Thanks again.